I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 363. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. I know we're just a couple days from spring and it feels like winter. It's freezing outside, but I know spring is coming. I have seen daffodils. I have seen trees starting to blossom. And guess what? I had absolutely nothing to do with it. It happens on its own without any help from me. And it always makes me feel really good when I know there's nothing for me to do. A lot of times, there really is nothing for me to do. There are a lot of things in this world that just happen without any help from me. And that is not what I'm going to talk about today. But it's always so nice to know that you can rest in this feeling of there's just something bigger that's going on all around us all the time. And when there's a change of season, it's always proof that that is true and that that is happening. Because I know there's nobody out here that I talk to, all of you beautiful women all over the world who are going through menopause, who are trying to lose weight for the very last time. I know none of you had anything to do with bringing up those flowers or bringing blossoms on that tree. I know that. That's one of the things I know for sure is there are things that happen in this world without the help of you or me. And sometimes I think we can control a lot more things than we can. So spring is coming, and you and I have absolutely nothing to do with it, but be in awe of the things around us that we have absolutely no control over that happen for us, and to watch it and be in the moment of it every single time you notice it and see it. It's really just being present. Be present as spring starts coming. Which brings me a little bit more to the topic that I want to talk about today is about being present when you're feeling what you're feeling. Because it's really easy to feel what you're feeling or to feel something that's negative and not to want to be present, to want to leave. One of the easiest ways to leave is to do something else instead of feel. And that's really what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the idea of if you're in menopause or you're coming into menopause or you're postmenopausal, that's usually who I'm talking to when I speak on this podcast. Then one of the things I know if you're listening and the scale isn't where you want it to be, or you believe that your body isn't where you want it to be, and this has been going on with you for most of your life, the reason that I talk to you, because I want you to know that this podcast really isn't for women who have never had a weight problem before, and then they hit menopause, and then they start having a weight problem. It's not as geared towards that as it is to those of you who have been having a struggle with weight your whole life, and menopause is making it harder than ever. So, the reason that I'm more focused on you is because that's how I was. And for women who have never had a weight issue, there are a lot of things, and I'll be very, very honest about it, that go on in the body that can cause imbalances. And a lot of times that's all that needs to be figured out if you've never had a weight issue in your whole life except for menopause. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want you to listen to me today if that is you, because I still may be talking some sense to you, or you may not realize that is you. Because I talk to a lot of women who will start with the conversation and that it wasn't until menopause that I weigh what I weigh. But when I get into their history a little bit more, what I really find out is since they were adolescents or since they were in their 20s or since they had their first baby, they started having a struggle with how their body looked, and they started using food for something other than fuel because they thought food was the problem. So they wanted to start restricting and depriving themselves of it in order to have a thinner body. If that's what happened to you any time in your past other than menopause, I'm really speaking to you now because when I talk about feelings, I'm talking about the idea that it's possible that you learned how to stop feeling your feelings and use food as a way of doing that. And so, what I'm talking about in this podcast today is, are you underfeeling and overeating in menopause? And the reason menopause is so important because if you haven't already noticed, emotions tend to get a lot stronger as your hormones are changing and as you go from being in your mid 40s, early 40s into your 50s and 60s. As all of that is changing, there are a lot of other things that are changing around you at the same time. It's a very specific time of life, a transitional time of life, where if you have children, they're probably on their way out. If you don't have children, there's still probably many things that are starting to change. If you have a career, there might be something in your career. Many of you are starting to feel much more successful in your career, but also you're starting to say to yourselves, but what else is there? This time of life is very, very interesting, and it opens up our brains and minds to how we're actually thinking about how we want to create this next half of our lives, knowing what we know. Now, with all of that coming up, that does create more emotions, stronger negative emotions. And if you've never learned how to really feel them, and they're stronger than ever, and the only thing you've ever really done for most of your life is when something feels uncomfortable, you've learned to use food, then when you hit menopause, you're going to do it more because emotions are stronger. So, if you're eating stronger emotions and you're in menopause, there's a good chance you're going to gain more weight. And it's also possible that you don't realize it because you've been doing it your whole life and not really being aware of it. So let's talk a little bit about what it's like to underfeel and overeat. For instance, I think that there's three emotions that are the easiest to not want to feel and the easiest to use food for. That first emotion is boredom. Many, many of my clients talk about the feeling of not having anything to do, of feeling the emotion in their body and wanting to fill it. What does it feel like in your body when you don't have anything to do? Let's say you come home at the end of the day and it's been a hard day, and then you get through into the evening, and all of a sudden you go from having a lot to do to having nothing to do. And what do you do with that? Well, my recommendation is if you actually know that's what's going on with you, because there's a lot of my clients that will say to me, and a lot of people that I do mini sessions will say to me, I don't even know what I'm feeling. And what I want to say about that, you don't always have to know what you're feeling. The best time to know if you're feeling something is when you find yourself overeating. Overeating is going to be the biggest key into underfeeling. It's going to be the biggest key that there is a big emotion going on right there and then that you may not be willing to look at. Now, with boredom, maybe you do know that you're bored, but here's what I want to offer you. If you know that you're bored, finding something to do is not always the answer. Distracting yourself with something else is not always the answer, because the best thing that you could do is number one, know that this is boredom and this is what it feels like and where you feel it in your body. Where do you feel boredom? Can you feel it in your body once you know it's there? And this is the thing about any emotion, is that all emotions pass, all emotions change. Like, you don't stay bored forever. If you've noticed, it comes and it goes. So when you feel this boredom, the best thing that can happen for you is that you can say, this is boredom and this is what it feels like. I can either feel it or I can eat it. And you know, if you eat it for the minute that you're eating it, you will not feel bored. And the minute that you're done, you will either want more to fill up the boredom, or you will feel the boredom again. So, hey, if you're going to be uncomfortable, why not just let yourself feel what it feels like to feel boredom and to decide not to eat instead? So if you feel it, you don't have to eat it. And here's the thing about the brain does not like pain. And the brain believes that this is uncomfortable and does not want to stay with it. You can override it because you are the observer of your own brain and of your own mind. So you actually have the option to say to yourself, when this is all going on, is I can feel it and not eat it. Underfeeling versus overeating. If you're not hungry and you start to eat, you will be overeating. If you feel the desire to want to eat when you're not hungry, you are feeling an emotion. I'm giving you the example of boredom because it's common and it's an easy one to find. But sometimes what happens is you can go from boredom to an urge. And both of those are emotions. And both of those require the exact same action. So let's say, I don't know what I'm feeling. You don't know that you feel bored, but you want to eat. If you know you want to eat and you know you're not hungry, that means that you're above a +2 in the realm of my physical hunger scale. You already feel totally satisfied physically. You know your body is not hungry. You're at a +2. You can use the smarter part of your brain to look at what's going on and realize this is an underfeeling, overeating opportunity to stop it. Because your brain's saying, hey, let's eat. You can see that if you start eating, it's going to be overeating. You also can see an opportunity that instead of not feeling it, underfeeling, you have the opportunity to let yourself feel it. And I'm going to give you something to do while you're doing this just to make it more interesting. So when you get to this place that you're either feeling the boredom or feeling the urge, you can feel it in your body a little bit somewhere. Usually, a lot of times, it will be around your stomach. Sometimes it'll just be a lot of tingling going on in your legs and your arms. Sometimes it's just going to feel like your head just wants to shoot off the rest of your body because it feels so strong. But that is what I want you to do, is to decide, how strong is it? So in my emotional hunger scale, so I have an emotional hunger scale and a physical hunger scale. The physical hunger scale goes from a -10 to a +10. We eat between the twos, -2 to +2. But the emotional hunger scale goes from a -10 to a +10. From 0 to a -10 are negative emotions that can be very weak at a -1, and very, very strong in the negative 10, or positive emotions, which can be very weak at a +1 or very strong at a +10. When we're talking about feeling instead of wanting to overeat, it will always be on the negative end from a 0 to a negative 10. So, what I want you to decide is how strong is it? Now, if this is the only thing that you do is that you can sit long enough, you realize you're not hungry, you realize you feel something else, you realize it's either boredom or an urge, and you can put a number on it. If it's really strong, call it what it is, -8. I want to jump out of my seat right now, or I need to go get that piece of cake, whatever it is. For me, it would have been potato chips. Or you let yourself sit there and feel how strong it feels and watch it with the smart part of your mind dissipate, which it will if you let it. But let's say it's too strong and you can't. Just by the action of doing what I tell you to do is to take a moment to be able to describe the number is enough for you to sit longer than you've ever done before. So even if you decide to eat after you go through this, you still go to an overeat, you still have taken your brain and trained it a little bit more than what it's done before. And you're taking it towards the place of actually beginning to feel it instead of eat it. So, does that make sense? Like with boredom? Now, another very, very common urge is loneliness. Now, you can be with somebody and be lonely, you can be without somebody and be lonely, but loneliness happens a lot when you have nothing to do and when you're bored too. It's a different emotion, but it invites your brain to give you some ideas on how best to fill that loneliness, how to make you feel less lonely. Now, the only thing your brain usually is going to offer you at this time, especially that primal brain of yours, it's going to offer you whatever you've done the most when this happens, because that's the way our brains function very, very efficiently. It's going to do whatever it's done before. If you're like the women that I work with and you've been doing this your whole life, 30 years, 40 years, your brain is very, very efficient at wanting to fill the emotion with food, which is called overeating and underfeeling. It's really a syndrome. I kind of made it up, but the syndrome is how do you solve for it? And you solve for it for realizing not just because you want to lose weight and weigh less, but because you know what? Boredom really can lead to a totally different kind of life if you let yourself feel it long enough. There may be something in your life that you want to change, and this negative emotion of boredom is what's pushing you to do it. And if you let yourself feel it, if you let it go through your body, the more you let it go through your body, the more you feel it, you also may do something that actually might change what you do. Boredom could be a very good emotion if you let yourself feel it enough and look into it. Loneliness is a little bit different, but it still has this feeling inside of you if you're like the women that I work with, that you hit menopause and overeating seems like even a better thing to do, or that you feel like you even have less control over your eating. It's only because the emotions are getting stronger, which they happen to do in menopause. So it's either an opportunity to gain weight and to say you don't know what's going on, it's all because of menopause, or it's an opportunity to go, wow, this is really an opportunity for me to get in touch with my emotions. Now, I'm just using loneliness and boredom because those are things that we feel very often. They're negative, you feel them in your body. And if you've used those in the past and you filled them with food, your brain's going to offer it to you every single time until you change what you do with the feeling. What I'm offering is changing instead of eating it is starting to feel it. So even if it's loneliness, you can do the same thing with it. I'm not saying to change anything what's going on around you at the time. Not saying that you can't, but a lot of times it's just there. It's a feeling. It may motivate you in the end to do something. You feel it enough and you're aware of it enough. It actually may motivate you to do something different in your life, which might be the reason that it's there. But for the purpose of this podcast, I want you to realize that you feel it. Now, maybe you don't know that it's loneliness, just like maybe you don't know that it's boredom. A lot of times we can't name it. A lot of women say to me, I just don't know what it is. Then all I want you to know is that if you want to eat and you're not hungry because you've been applying the work that I've been telling you long enough to know that you're physically not hungry anymore, that you are at a +2, then you have an opportunity to feel instead of underfeel. And maybe the feeling will just be, I want to eat. It might just be a desire or an urge to want to eat when you're not hungry. So all I want you to do is I want you to rate it, whatever it is. If you can't tell exactly what the feeling is, but you want to eat, it becomes an urge. If it's an urge, it has a strength. It goes from 0 to -10. How strong is it? Give yourself a number, feel it for a minute. This is what an urge feels like, and see if it can go through your body, if you can feel it without eating it. And just know that if you end up eating it, you've still taken yourself a step further because you're training that observer part of your mind to take a pause. So I could say to you, pause, or I could say to you, put a number on the urge. Either way, you're going to pause and you're going to think about it. And when you're thinking about it, you're not thinking with your primal brain, you're thinking with the smart part of your brain. That's what we want to do. So if you're one of the women that is underfeeling and overeating, especially because you're in menopause, then this is for you. And this is your practice this week, is make sure that you understand your physical hunger and your physical fullness. And once you know that, then when you have an urge or you feel something, end of the day is a very good time to do this work, because I would say 70% of the women that I work with have a lot of stuff going on when they're through with their day. So it's a wonderful opportunity to look at emotions. If you can't name it, maybe you just know that it's an urge. Either way, you're going to take a moment and you're going to put the strength of the urge on it. And you're going to tell yourself, this is what an urge feels like. I can eat it or I can feel it. If I feel it, I become a superwoman, because that's exactly what will happen over time. You will feel like a superwoman when you feel like you're the one that's feeling what's going on and you're allowing it to go through, and you know that you can handle urges. It's not the food. It wasn't the potato chips for me. It's not the brownies for you or the ice cream. It's your brain and what it thinks about it. The food can stay there. The only thing that needs to change is how you want to think about it and how you want to lessen these emotions by feeling them and letting them go through. They lose their power when you stop feeding them. The less you feed them, the less powerful they are, and the more powerful you become. Try that on for the next week. And of course, listen, whatever else you do and wherever else you go this week, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com change. CHANGE.